10% of the actual sale. Because if it costs more than 10%, I generally don't think you're probably going to make a profit, because when you take into account all your operating costs and everything else. So just to keep it simple, let's say the product's worth 100 quid. You've got a tenner budget to be able to spend on generating that sale. So let's say your conversion is 1 and 3. Right, I've got £3.30 to be able to generate a lead or a point of interest or whatever you're going to measure. So you can work back the metrics that way and very, very quickly understand what's working, what isn't. And the clients that I think get the most out of our solution are the ones that know their numbers. The clients that don't know their numbers, that's where we step in and actually help them and actually measure their campaign for them so that they know I'm actually getting a return on investment on this. Because the one thing I've learned in my career is incremental sales. There's no point paying for a sale that you were already going to get through a free channel. I always used to have this discussion about putting adverts in the Daily Mail. When I was at Hilton, we put an advert in the Daily Mail, we get £500,000 worth of sales, and it becomes a drug, and you keep advertising in the Daily Mail, keep getting £500,000 and actually realise that, well, we've got a database of Daily Mail readers, why don't we just direct mail them? And it never worked. We had to keep advertising. So I think it's key to get those metrics in place and then start small, because if you don't know what your figures are, it's very, very easy to blow your budget. And I've done that. I've been guilty of doing that before, of going mad, thinking, right, I know my numbers, I know what I need, and then blowing the budget within the first week. For me, it's finding the things that work for you. So being able to track and measure those different sources. So talk about Google My Business. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs you time is what it costs you, but actually you can generate a lot from it. But knowing that the time you invest is giving you that return, you'll do more of it. And that's why I think the measurement part of it is so key, that once you've established your metrics, without being able to measure it, you're pretty much shooting in the dark, and you could be spending a lot of time doing something, even if it's for free, that actually doesn't yield you any benefit whatsoever. So we started an example, a social media campaign for ourselves. And because we've been measuring it to the nth degree, we know that it's triggering existing.
How have you been measuring that? Just to come in on that. So if you're doing a social media campaign, there'll be a lot of businesses out there doing a social media campaign. Are you using in-platform tools? What metrics are you looking at?
So real hard sales, it sounds nuts, but so what we'll do is we'll assign a unique telephone number to Facebook, to Twitter, to LinkedIn. We'll also have different messages on the different platforms at different times, so we can measure what they're responding to.
You're actually putting the number in the actual call to action, the actual text ad within the Facebook ad post itself.
So yesterday, as an example, we had 10 leads from Facebook. 3 of them came through the phone. 3 that came through the phone were between 5:30 and 7 o'clock last night. One of those leads that came from Facebook on the phone also completed the form fill just before he called us.
So what metrics are you taking from the in-platform dashboard from Facebook? Because Facebook Business Manager, everyone knows, you manage Facebook Messenger, Instagram. What are you doing? What are you looking at to help you understand, are you targeting the right audience? Are you, getting the right click-through rate? Are you getting the right engagement with that post? Is that messaging working for you? What metrics are you looking at specifically within the dashboard?
It's funny you should say that. None.
Wow.
We don't, because I go back to, if it's generating leads, that's the point for me as a business owner. If we've got it to work, it's because we're measuring the leads that are coming out of it, if that makes sense. So yes, what we do is we create an audience based on the traffic we already get. So I'm not creating an audience from scratch, as it were. We're basing it off an existing audience we've created. And we're then measuring, so how many people we're getting on the landing page, what that landing page is converting into, which is, again, our own data, and then how much of those leads then actually physically turn into sales. So on our CRM system, we track every source of every lead. So whether it's paid, whether it's organic, whether it's Facebook organic, whether it's paid Facebook. And then essentially what we're doing is making sure that we're getting a return on investment. Go back to our numbers. We would pay 700 quid for a sale. We're now paying £33. Have I looked at the Facebook dashboard in the last 6 months? No. It's all been through our own data, because I'm interested in sales. I'm not interested in so much as impressions, if you get what I mean. It's the outcome I'm interested in rather than the audience itself. And the other thing we found with Facebook is the wider you make the audience, the better. I don't know why. because Facebook enables you. The great thing about it is you can target at a real defined level. Whenever we've done that, it's almost like we've strangled it. So we've actually, let off the brakes a little bit, and we actually generate more sales, not just leads, but more sales off the back of it by doing that.
It is the opposite of what it used to be. Whereas before you used to break down Facebook campaigns into granular individual campaigns, and now it's the algorithm switched to say, no, reach and target more audience. Whereas on LinkedIn, it's completely different, where you've got to be as niche as you need to be to target that specific audience. Yes, you're paying higher, but the reason is because it's like you said, Google My Business is a free tool. Google Analytics is a free tool, anyone listening. And it's that key point, it's time. You have to invest your time to look at the data, not just from platforms like, Facebook Business Manager, Google Analytics, but you need to be creating your own internal systems to measure it.
It's really funny you should say that, because we changed our website, and we changed the navigation at the top. Changed it on a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, no leads. Or I think we got 1, maybe 2. We usually get 10. I didn't need to look at Facebook. I knew we had a problem. So we changed the button to free trial, went back up a bit, changed it to free demo. We got about 20% improvement over the previous website. I didn't look at any Facebook data. I just went into, as you said, the Google Analytics data to look at the search. I could see that they were stopping. They weren't clicking on the free demo or free trial button. And it's just a change in words from changing it from free trial to free demo. And we just tested it to see what would happen. And we get 20% improvement just by changing the words.
This is what I feel like most businesses struggle with, because they'll be running so many multiple platforms, video, as Anush will know. And I always find that video is the hardest to kind of measure, because it's, as you said, Anush, it's 3 goals. It's raising awareness, engaging with them, or getting them to make a decision. And there's so many different platforms out there, whether you're doing Google ads or, Facebook. Clients then just look at in-platform data. You've got to look at the wider picture.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying really tied into what Anush was saying earlier around the, looking at the overall objectives. And Anush, how frequently are people coming to you with the objective of sales, but they know they want video to be part of that? And, what tools do you then bring into place to help show the effectiveness of what you've done?
Usually when customers are coming to us, the only problem is they really don't know why they want to use the video, because they usually want the sale to be their first target, but not always the sales is what they need to target. Because first of all, maybe they don't yet know their clients, and they can't just, let's say, sell their product to people who don't know their product, like from the first glance. They need to start understanding the product. Like, you need to explain what is the product about, and then sell them the product. So basically, at the first stage, when the customers are coming, I'm always suggesting to not go with promo videos at the first, on the first video. If you don't have any videos, first one is explainer, because you need to give the understanding of your video, of your product, give them the advantages that you have, give them like whole knowledge, for example, which kind of problems you are solving for them. And then for the third or fourth video, start selling, let's say, talking about your product in actual way, like what is it giving to them. And promo videos also, when you're choosing to do a promo video, you need to always concentrate on one topic, because a lot of customers are trying to give a lot of information on one video, but it's not always right. You need to just concentrate on one thing. And of course, at the end of your video, always have only one call to action, because your customers need to take any actions after watching the video. So one call to action can help them to make a decision really quickly.
It comes back to all the wider tools. If you're doing video advertising, it's the key elements you can really track is if there's a contact form or a call to action or a sale transaction on your website. But that's less likely to happen from video. It's more likely to happen within platforms like, Facebook, if you are using video, or different platforms out there that say display as video. YouTube is great in terms of pre-roll. And we all know that social media is becoming very, very video focused in terms of the creative people need to use in terms of short term, 5 to 10 seconds. But it's using the tools like yourselves at eSales Hub. How many people are calling into the business because they've got the brand awareness from that? And I think a lot of businesses, and anyone's listening to this, needs to understand that there's so many multiple elements to this to track, that it's not just one element in terms of, like, as you said, you're running Facebook campaigns, but you're not even looking at the in-platform data. As an agency, I'm like, well, okay, why is that? And that's quite interesting. But you have your own internal data and you're looking at Google Analytics and you're looking at so many others to say, no, we know Facebook's working. We don't really care about the impressions or the engagement rate. We know this is our audience. We put it into Facebook and we'll track it offline.
But also the switch on, switch off test, I always find is really, really useful. That if ever you want to be convinced about something, switch it off. It's brave, but switch it off for a week, see what happens. And I think one of the things I learned when I was at Virgin Active is invest in your brand. So although you can't necessarily measure the impact of video, it will have an impact. And if you stop doing it, you'll feel it. And even at Virgin Active, you think, oh, you got the Virgin brand, must have been easy. No, because no one even knew what Virgin Active was. They thought it was, I don't know, some kind of yoga thing. I don't know, but it was a chain of gyms. And we still had to invest in the Virgin brand to tell people we existed. And you can only wring so much out of direct response. And if you're not investing in your brand, you're not building something for the future. And what we were finding at Virgin is the less we invest in the brand, our direct response channels were just going down. And the more we invested in the brand, we probably get a 20, 30% uplift by investing in the brand. And we were doing it, in traditional methods like billboards, press advertising, stuff like that. But we could see the impact that it had on our direct response channels. And one of the ones, it was Europcar, actually. It was about 2 years ago. We suddenly had a massive spike in sales. And we're looking at each other going, oh, the campaign's working well this month. What's happened? And it was getting ridiculous to the point of view of where has this come from? And so we phoned up Europcar, said, are you guys doing anything different? Oh, yeah, we've got radio adverts. And it was the radio adverts that were actually driving the PPC campaign and the online campaign. So they couldn't measure the impact directly from the ad, but we could see it in all the channels. And the spike was amazing. So for me, you've got to keep investing in your brand. You can't just keep ringing a direct response channel every time, because without that investment in your brand, you just won't be investing for the future, and your direct response channels won't be as effective as they could be. And
what I'm hearing from you, Mark, is ultimately it's always going to come down to sales. No matter what it is you're doing, that's your key metric. So if all this other activity is going on, is there more money in the bank? Is there more deals coming through? And I'm curious to know, with the experience you've got, working in a lot of big brands to where you are now, if that's ever changed, or has that always been very much what you've seen as the key goal?
I've always focused on driving sales in my career, because when the chips are down and the thing gets pointed at you, well, I drive X, I drive Y. We actually measure our gross profit as a business every 10 minutes, which can get quite addictive. And also upsets the wife when I'm on holiday. I'm updating our gross
10 minutes.
Yeah, every 10 minutes we measure our gross profit. Yeah. It literally. Anis Dadewelli, who works for us, he's an ex-Googler. He's our head of client revenue. He now behaves like me, because he now updates every 10 minutes, and it is like a fix. It's like a game. And when I was a kid, I grew up with a ZX Spectrum. You probably guys have never heard of that. 48K. That's a lot of power for a computer. But I was a gamer when I was a kid, and actually beating the numbers and having a set of numbers that I can then regularly see kind of plays to my gaming side of my brain, as it were. And yes, every 10 minutes, you have a bad Saturday, a bad Sunday, it does put you in a mood. Ask my wife. But at the same time,
we've gone from marketing to the stock market in like 60 seconds.
But it also, for our clients, they can see what happens every 10 minutes. And so if you're sat in a marketing office, you're not in front of the customer. And that was always one of my frustrations. I was always one step removed from the customer. And that's why I quite liked to get out in front of customers. It's funny, one of my old CEOs, John Cleland, made me go out, and made me go and see branches and go and be with customers, because I'd learn more. And I think, like I say, as a business owner, I'm very focused on sales, because, I've got a responsibility to my staff, my team, my shareholders, me, my wife, everybody else, to pay them, make sure we're in a profitable company, because that's why we're in business, is for sales at the end of the day. But we're also in business to help the sales of our clients. And I think one of my frustrations is when I've been in companies when I've not been able to connect